listening to the Hollywood Boulevard podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Hollywood Boulevard Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Minnie. I'm here with my co-host,
Joe Turek. There's no
Joe
moo
Turk.
or anything like that. Just it's just a Joe. I don't
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for usually I do that stuff for Paul, but I sometimes bring it into my other stuff. We have Alfred coming in later, but Alfred's dealing with something right now. I don't know, so I don't want to get into that. But he will be in and he'll be joining us talking about Tommy Boy. I'm sure there's a lot of things he'll refresh us back on when we have him on. But we're gonna talk about Tommy Boy, the 1995 Chris Farley and David Spade film. This is a movie that I watched religiously, like over and over and over and over again. So much so that I probably know every line. Just like Billy Madison, I know every line. And nothing really, like, rewatching it, I there was nothing I like new that popped in. Sometimes there's new stuff or whatever.
know.
Nothing new popped in. I was like, "Oh my God, that's
You're
just."
you're past the point of seeing everything in the back screens. Everything in the back screens, even old now. It's like because
I
usually I was like I would see something in the back and be like, oh, that's kind of cool, something new. But eventually that wears out too.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, other than seeing those guys when he was flipped upside down and everything, and then seeing, like, whatever, maybe I wasn't paying it that much attention before when I watched it, but no, like, it was pretty much the movie I remembered from start to finish. I mean, now, interestingly enough, I have the Blu-ray, and it's like the Holy Shnikes edition. So I was like, oh, does that mean there's like a is there like director's cut? There was no other cut on there. They didn't
Hmm.
ask me to play a different cut. And the movie was like 97 minutes, which I think is the total running time of the movie,
That
period.
was the version I watched. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think there was anything different. And so Joe, when do you remember when you first watched this movie?
I was working in the theater at the time, so it was just one that I saw there when I was in the theater. Saw it first run. Um, it was uh, right when all those there was Saturday Night Live stuff was really kind of popular at the time, like you just mentioned, Billy Madison with the Adam Sandler stuff, and then Chris Farley had the handful of movies, which I'm sure we'll go into in a little bit. But those were really catching on. I mean, this was before the What Night at the Roxbury, and it was after Wayne's World, so Coneheads and all that stuff. So this was right in the meat of that. But it was when Farley was becoming a star, or already was a star. But
He was a
yeah, it was.
star. He was a star, a breakout star from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and this was starting to really get entrenched in with Hollywood. It seemed, and
Absolutely.
sadly, it was not too long after that he was gone. But
I think like
uh,
3 or 4 years. I mean, it didn't take
yeah,
too long.
yeah, it was within a handful of years. So, but yeah, I saw it in the theater first run. I think I saw it. I think we had it at the theater I was at. So I probably would either put it together or I know I watched it the one of those midnight screenings the night before it got put out because we had to put the film together and make sure it was all put together front to tail the right way, or else.
Oh,
Um,
for real? So you get
yeah,
okay, so you get to watch the whole movie before it comes out because you're just testing the movie to make sure it doesn't mess up.
Yeah, because it's interesting thing is one of the a film we had a few years later was well, I mean it was Star Wars New Hope when they re-released it in '97 or something like that. They one of the reels got sent to us backwards, so it was tail to lead, so it was backwards. So I mean we literally had to like remove the reel and basically reverse it, and when you're putting those things together on a big platter, it takes a while to do, and that was kind of a nightmare scenario to go through that. But yeah, we basically have to but we had to put the film together. So 90-minute film, 97-minute film was probably about 5 or 6 reels, probably about six, maybe seven. And we had to tape it together, basically piece to piece. Now it's all digital almost
Right.
all the time, so it's pretty straightforward now. It's just they download it on their computer and yada yada yada.
I'm still sure people have to check to make sure that, like, because even if it says it's like sent to you or whatever, you still got to go from the beginning to the end to see if like the whole movie's there, right? Like,
Yeah,
'Cause you don't want to say, oh, well, since it's digital, it's just sent to me and then it doesn't. Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, but with this one, it'd be probably what 6, 7 reels or so. So we basically have to unreel it from all the different pieces and then tape it together for more or less, and then put tape previews and all the theater stuff before it, and put the cues on there for the lighting and stuff like that. So,
Right.
that make sure the sound bars at the top versus the bottom. 'Cause, I mean, or else it's going to play backwards. I mean,
Uh,
it'll mess up. So, but yeah,
Play backwards like, oh, what is it? What is that? Like those hard rock songs that they think like the devil, if they put it backwards, there's a devil meaning or something. You
yeah,
know what I'm talking about?
it's like if you like wind a record player backwards or something like that.
Yeah, you could hear like a
But
hidden message that's like, "Hail Satan," or something like
yeah. So usually what happened when we put those together is the only time something would potentially go wrong usually would be is if we didn't get the fourth or fifth frame and it was like out of frame. So we had to like go up and stop it and resplice it basically.
that.
Um, little things like that. And just making sure they were nice clean cuts and when it was all those different pieces. So anyways, we would the benefit out of it is we would watch the films like at 1 o'clock in the morning, the night that they're coming out the next morning. So it's truly working, but it's not working because you're enjoying it. You enjoy the movie.
Right.
So, anyways, I saw it like that, one of those midnight shows, and so it was only a couple employees in there with me, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, seen it a number of times since then. I don't think I've seen it anywhere near you, and I maybe saw it like 5 or 6 years ago, because it was like when I was watching it last night again, it was like I'd seen all the lines. I was like, okay, I remember this. I remember this. I can't recite it line for line necessarily, but I knew everything that was about to happen because it's so entrenched into uh,
It's
I
got a
saw it a
good
number of times.
structure to it. Like
Yeah.
it does have a thing where, so like I watched a little bit of like the featurette. There was a 90
Mhm.
minute like thing where was it 90 minutes? No, it was like
Almost the
50.
running
It
time of
was
the movie.
50. It was
Oh, okay.
50 minutes. It was 50 minutes, but it was like a good amount of time for, I didn't watch it all. I just watched maybe like 10, 20 minutes of it. And it was this it's like four featurettes put together into one,
Hmm.
thing or whatever. It's like play all. And they were talking about the stuff I was interested in was the background of what happened. And basically Bonnie and Terry
Turner, I believe, aren't they
Turner,
like the? Yeah.
they're the guys who did like Third Rock from the Sun,
Hmm.
and at that time I think they were having Third Rock from the Sun like coming out and stuff. And they were the original writers. Now, they didn't write the whole thing. They just kind of I think they just kind of came up with like a little bit of it, or whatever,
Hmm.
kind of like the idea, the whatever. And then Fred Wolf, who's not credited, came in and fixed everything else up because he was a writer for Saturday Night Live and he was really good friends with Chris Farley and David Spade, and he kind of
Hmm.
knew them. By the way, it wasn't originally supposed to be Chris Farley and David Spade. Originally, it was going to be Chris Farley and Rob Lowe as brothers. That was going to be the story.
Hmm.
Then when it started to kind of percolate and the idea started whatever, they decided to bring in David Spade and have it be not a brother comedy, but sort of a brother comedy. Even though they're not brothers, they are brothers. You know what I mean? If you get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like it was almost like a Laurel Hardy type of thing. The more serious guy, and then the buffoonish character, which Farley was. But yeah, and with Spade's character though it was a little bit different because he wasn't just it wasn't just like a brother, but he was kind of adversarial to him. I mean, because it was kind of very he was kind of nasty to him in
Hmm.
a lot of ways. So very sarcastic, but I think that's what gave it sort of a different feel to it than a lot of other films and stuff like that, than the quote unquote buddy films and stuff like that. That they were really kind of at each other. But yeah, I heard that Rob Lowe was originally it was supposed to be just the two of them as brothers. And
Hmm.
uh, I not saying that Rob Lowe couldn't do something like that, but I think Spade and Farley play so well off each other, even though I know at times they didn't get along, but
Well,
still they did well together, obviously.
I almost wonder if it would have been come like that movie Step Brothers.
Hmm.
I wonder what if it would have been like that, where the brothers do not like each other at first, and then they kind of grow to like each other or whatever, and then become like best friends. I wonder if that was because that sort of was the plot for this in a way, even though they're not brothers. Like, they're school chums. They didn't really even they weren't even classified as friends. Richard just worked at Tommy's dad's factory, or whatever. So he wasn't even a like they weren't like friends. There was that great line in the movie where he said, what happened to what's going on with the old gang in high school? It's like, I don't know. I never liked the old gang from high school. And that pretty much just right there, that line, I feel like, capitalized their friendship,
Hmm.
like, or whatever, kind of just showed who these people are, because there's, there's the one guy who's coming back, and everything, and the other guy who just doesn't, who stayed there. I don't even, he went to college, but he graduated before, I'm guessing he graduated before Tommy did, you know.
Well, Tommy took. Didn't they make a joke that was like 7 to 10 years or something like
It
that?
was 7 years, yeah. He
Yeah,
goes,
and then the doctors.
yeah, he was like, yeah, they're called doctors. So that was probably my favorite, and like probably one of the most well-known lines in the movie,
Hmm.
other than like maybe a couple of the other ones, but really that's the one people always, because it was so sarcastic, it was so David Spade. It was perfect for him. So besides that thing, and the fact that they wanted to be brothers, there's another big problem that they had during the making of this movie. And I wrote it down last night on Facebook. I don't know if you saw that or not. Um,
No, I.
okay. So this was a quote from David Spade. He said, and so we got a timetable of we're shooting in Toronto. That's where they shot this movie. And we're shooting Saturday Night Live. And we had a little tiny plane. I just called it a private jet because it sounded cooler, but it was basically getting an MRI. It was you would lay down and it's like this big, you know.
Hmm.
And he goes, so we couldn't stand up and it's tiny. It's stuffed with candy and booze. And we would fly back and forth and do Saturday Night Live, Saturday, obviously. Toronto, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Fly back Wednesday for read through. Fly back
Hmm.
Wednesday night to Toronto. Shoot Thursday. Fly back Friday and Saturday to the show, and fly back after the cast party in the middle of the night Saturday. Because that worked for about a week. Isn't that crazy? Um,
That's just
it's
that's
like
that's
that's
uh,
insane. That's absolutely insane. I can't believe it.
well. Didn't
Um,
Farley stop drinking for during this, but he started drinking coffee or something like that?
Probably, and that makes
I
sense for his
he
character.
yeah, and he was, and I mean, he was like so he drank so much coffee and so much espresso and stuff like that that he was like just pure energy.
He probably had a little bit of cocaine in him too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't say that for a fact. I know he dabbled in some drugs, and that's kind of what was the end of him. Sadly. Uh, I can't
So
say that
when did you see it first? Did you see it? I mean, you see it in the theater or?
I saw it. Did I see it in the theater? I don't think so. I saw it on VHS, I think. If I saw it in the theater, I think we talked about how I probably saw Billy Madison with my cousin. So I think
Mhm.
if I probably saw this with my cousin, if because it's that same year, it's 1995. Alfred, how you doing? Are you there? All right. Come back and tell us when you're in. Let us know when you're on. Um, so I 1995 was a crazy year for comedies, and you're probably going to get into that later. So that's
Oh
what
yeah,
you
I'll
like to
talk
do at the
about
end of like what came out like at
yeah
that year or
what was
whatever.
popular at the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it was, we had Billy Madison, which was Adam Sandler's, chance. We had that. We had I believe I believe we had The Mask with Jim Carrey then, in 95. Like it was a pretty damn good year for for a
Yeah,
comedy.
94, 95, that would have been, yeah, that. And then uh Cable Guy was 96, Ace Ventura,
Mhm.
maybe the second Ace Ventura. So yeah, it was a lot of that slapsticky comedy stuff. But the interesting thing with Billy Madison in this is I think Billy Madison came out like only a few months before this, or within it, like you said, within a year, is there's a very common thread between the two movies about trying to be ready to take over family, the business and
Family
stuff like
business.
that.
I thought
Yeah.
about that too. What isn't it kind of weird? Like they are sort of like they're stepbrothers to each other, like
Mhm.
or we're
Yeah.
brothers to each other. Like there's
Yeah.
um yeah, so Billy Madison, he has to take over the company, but the only way he can do that is to go back to school. And in this, the only way he can take over his family's business is if he give his inheritance to the company and then sold brake pads, or
Yeah.
whatever to the different people. So if you think about it, like Tommy is such a nice character. Like not only is he trying to do these nice things for his parents or his dad, and everything and help like the legacy of his family, but
Hmm.
he's also willing to not have money like and he gave up his inheritance like that just to save the company. Like
Yeah. He was willing
no
to do that. And
nobody really like they were kind of like, oh, okay, right? But like they didn't really I would have been like, are you sure? Like that's your inheritance. Like that's your money that like you could have and just like Billy Madison, he could just sit around and eat daiquiris, drink daiquiris and play video games all day, you know?
yeah.
It's almost like Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Hey, Alfred's here.
Hello.
Yeah, if you hear a voice that just randomly pops up, it's Alfred.
Yeah,
Hey, Alfred.
this is the
Yeah.
voice of the Mr. On. Gary,
So
go back.
we sort of said when we both saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw it on VHS. Joe saw it in the theater. When did you see this movie
I think I
originally?
saw this one in like the 2000s.
Really?
I saw it
It
like,
took that
yeah.
long?
I had this aversion to a lot of Saturday Night Live stuff for a long time. I still kind of do, but I don't know why. But some of the stuff, once people tell me about it, and then, oh, I'll watch it. And then I'm like, oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's
So,
not a bad Saturday night. Like, when you look at Joe was mentioning earlier, Night at the Roxbury.
mhm.
Or that movie Superstar with Molly Shannon. A lot of people love that movie. I can't. No, sorry. It's a skit that did not need to be made. Or my least favorite Saturday Night Live movie, it's Pat. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
if you say anything other than that, I'll be like, nope, nope. There's one more.
There's one
Right.
more. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Pat was probably the worst. But but this isn't a skit. This wasn't based on a skit from there. Like we'll eventually do Wayne's World. That was a skit from Saturday Night Live.
Hmm.
Billy Madison was a skit from Saturday Night Live. I think
Yeah.
that's why it works.
Yeah.
Really
And then like
expanded
like
on it.
the other ones like Coneheads and stuff like that. That was all skits. Yeah. This was its own
Yeah, and
entity.
and Coneheads didn't even work for me. Like it might have worked for a TV show, like Meet the
Uh,
Coneheads or
yeah.
something,
Now,
but
I
like
remember I remember Farley in that too. I mean, very small role in Coneheads.
and Adam Sandler.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Really played Soul to Squeeze forever and ever and ever. It was the only
So
Red Hot Chipper song out
so
there.
so Alfred, you said you saw this. It was 2000. So this would have been after Farley had passed.
Yeah.
W when you see a movie with a major star like that unfortunately something like that happened, did you when you watched it, did it feel how did it feel? I mean, it's like how did you take just watching the movie in general, and did that take away some of the humor because he was being so his body was there was a lot of physical humor?
I did not funny you asked this. I never thought of that until recently. Not just him, but other. I watched these they have these awesome they took film from like or these antique rolls of film from like 1890 or 1878 or something, and they put them to color and do the AI on them, and they have like that stuff really jerks me. Like, oh my god, these are people who lived, died, and whatever, and all I know about them is this 2 second span, this movie clip. I've really never had that kind of reflection before. And I'm watching this concert today. As a matter of fact, there's the Highwayman. It was one of the country ones, and I think Frank, not Frank, Johnny Cash has passed, and I don't know. Finally, now I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, these people were here, and now they're not, but they live on in their medium. So
yeah, I was just wondering, like with because it's like when I was watching it last night, I was like, I see all that physical humor he did, and it's funny and stuff like that, but it's like, I mean, that was the excess stuff that he was doing was part of his ways, and that was ultimately kind of sad because that's sort of what took him down too. It was a big thing too for him, and it ended up being his downfall.
Well, you know what? I actually was thinking this is interesting because I was actually thinking today too that and so I'm glad this got brought up, but like I was thinking today that like right now, as of right now, I have no legacy, right? Like, if I died tomorrow, like I went out and I got hit by a car, and I died, there would be nothing that I did. Scary Story Slumber Party excluded, really, but like that doesn't really, to me, that doesn't count. Like, there's nothing as big. Like, I was thinking about like George Washington, right? George Washington's been dead for so long, and people still talk about him today. Abraham Lincoln, most presidents. There are some presidents people don't talk about, and some presidents I didn't even know were presidents.
John Garfield.
Yeah, or was it Chester A. Arthur or something, things like that. I don't, I only know that name because of fucking Die Hard with the Vengeance, or whatever. So, and that's the thing. Like, there is no, to me, I have no legacy. So, I was like thinking, what do I need to fucking become the president of the United States? And when you guys were talking about this, I was like, no, all I have to do is make a good movie that lasts a lifetime like that people are still going to talk about even after my death. And that is what happened with Chris Farley. All of Chris Farley's films, no matter what, even Almost Heroes, which is terrible, and I think that was one of his last films before he died. They were, they were Chris Farley, they were vehicles made for Chris Farley because Chris Farley has a presence to him. Like I was telling Joe, I was watching these featurettes and stuff, and in the featurette, he's joking around on set. You can see him joking around on set, and he was like talking about something, and all of a sudden he just fell backwards on purpose, like just to be a goof. And that was who he was, like off the screen and on the screen, and this vehicle was the perfect vehicle for him. When they later tried to do Black Sheep, they lost what was so great about this one. And that would be interesting at some point to watch Black Sheep to kind of talk about why maybe we think that Black Sheep just didn't do as well as Tommy Boy. Like, what was, other than maybe the script, script had probably a lot to do with it. Was it the directing? Because Peter Siegel, who directed this, did a fantastic job. Like, the movie just breezes through so many cool like little scenes, the scene with the deer is probably one of my favorite scenes of like comedies, just because, just imagine a deer waking up in the back seat of your car, and stuff. I'm surprised they didn't just leave it, toss it to the side. Like, why did they bring it in? Well, because so we could have that awesome scene where he's just destroying the car,
Yeah, and I know that they said that there was I don't know if in those featurettes it talked about it. It'd be kind of cool to see that they had to do some to get the deer accustomed to the car. They put food and all around it and stuff like that. And they had to get the deer to stand on the car. They had to take days or weeks or something like that just to give it time to get accustomed to the car and destroy the car, basically. But when it wakes up and it freaks out, I mean that is comedy gold.
Yeah, but especially I just love that when he like he's talking about something or whatever, and then he looks over in the mirror and he goes, ah, and then all of a sudden the deer goes, ah, right? And I'm like, was that added in, or like did that deer really make that noise? I wonder. Because that was the most awesome deer noise I've ever heard in my life.
Well, they tried every possible thing to destroy Spade's car. Um, I mean, they had they he had, what is it, one time they even had cardboard door on it or something
Yeah.
on the side.
Well, it
It
was
was
Fight
they
racing
wrote.
automobiles.
yeah,
In his
kinda.
car. I
I,
know when if you seen me, myself, and Irene, the scene where
yeah,
he's dealing with a cow.
yeah. That the cow
Th-
scene is pretty funny.
That was a few years after this, so that I mean, this was so. I,
Well, in this movie, they try to tip a cow, and it doesn't work. And I've talked to Paul about that because Paul's a big cow guy, and
Mhm.
he has said cow tipping is not a thing. You can't actually cow tip, or whatever. People can't actually knock a cow over, with any kind of physical strength. And I was like, well, why are you gonna ruin these TV movies for me, man? Of course, the idea is that Tommy Boy, what is it? Does it. Like he tries to do it and doesn't work, and then he falls on his face and everything, and then the cow. I'm sorry, but that cow would have crushed his head for real. So I know it's a
yes,
comedy, but like when I saw that, I go, come on. That was obviously like a fake cow leg that just went down on his head for a second and then walked away or whatever. But that was there's no way that cow, I don't know. It was
yeah. Well, that and then that was like one of the best lines right after that too. And when Rob Lowe asked him, he's like, "Did you eat paint chips when you were a kid?" And
he goes, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
that's
he's like,
hilarious.
it's like, why? It's like he just goes right over his head.
Well, but they ask him a bunch of questions. Did
That's one
you
of my favorite questions on here. Is it
paint chips?
paint chips?
Did you paint chips as a kid? And then when the other one was like, did you ever stand under something or whatever, like electric light or something? Like
I have
something,
power.
what was it?
I don't know.
It was something else like that. So like, and he would always go, yeah, why?
Mhm.
Right? Because all those things he did to really mess him up and make him whoever he is.
Yeah.
Um, I also really, really loved the relationship between him and Julie Warner,
Yeah.
and Michelle Brock. She's a fantastic character. I really loved it because it was so kind of subtle, you know, like it wasn't and it was such a sweet
Mhm.
romance, like uh
Well, she's just to me. I think she's like one of the major cuties of that time period.
I know. I
And
never
it's
really
just, I mean,
watched many things with her, I don't think.
oh well, Doc Hollywood.
Um, she was also something else. She was in
Doc Hollywood's probably one of my favorites of her. She was in like Puppet Masters the year before that.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
a great one with Donald
yeah, so
Sutherland.
the
yes,
Puppet Masters movie.
yeah,
Not to be
yeah.
confused with Puppet Master from Full Moon. That's a
No,
completely different
Oh yeah, yeah. This
or
was on
Doll Man meets
Miramax.
Puppet Man, Puppet Master.
but she was
Yeah,
also
this
in
is
Flatliners apparently.
Yeah.
she was a girlfriend or something. I
Of
don't think that was her
William
name.
Baldwin's character, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she was like one of the central ones, but to me, it's like if you haven't seen Doc Hollywood yet,
Hmm.
watch that. I mean that shows her in the
What is she what is she doing now? That's the big question.
I think she's doing a lot of TV stuff now. She's still
Ooh,
active.
yeah. She's in Where Are You Christmas? A Hallmark movie.
Okay, so Hallmark movies,
I,
and I think there's a lot of TV series too.
are Hallmark movies like the new thing for actors, like period? Like because for a long time, being part of Hallmark or Lifetime, you were looked down on,
I
as
think
an
it's part
actor.
of. I think
What?
it's political.
You think it's political?
Certain people get blackballed from acting in certain areas where they go there.
I don't know, because like, okay, so I worked on, 4 Lifetime movies. And
Well,
actually,
that's why nobody's returning your call then, because
yeah,
you did
I guess
Hallmark.
not. Yeah, because I did a Lifetime. I don't think it was. I don't think. Did any of them go to Hallmark? Because that was the thing. Like they told me that the Hallmark and Lifetime work together. I don't know if you know this, but they
Hmm.
work together. So they'll decide, does this go to Lifetime? Does this go to Hallmark? After they made it or whatever. Now there's that Great American Family, but that's a completely different thing because that's all Christian, like, and
Gotcha.
everything.
Yeah.
And they actually, Candace Cameron Bure, runs it. Like she's the person who runs it, and she will say she wants traditional family, characters and
Hmm.
whatnot and stuff. And that got a lot of trouble because that meant like no LGBTQ. And Lifetime will do that, because they don't have any problem, but Hallmark, I don't know. Hallmark does have a lot more traditional family stuff, not as many, you know.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the Lifetime movies. Just like there's like three or four general story ideas, and then they like sort of like intertwine the
Yeah.
ideas, and then they're kind of very similar. I think those type of movies, not the Christmas for Hallmark, is sort of like in the sci-fi genre. You get the low budget sci-fi network times type movies and stuff
Hmm.
like that. These movies for Lifetime and all that, most of those don't have a big budget, and it's not meant to change the world necessarily. It's just it's comfort
It's
food type of movies.
So yeah, you're right. There's basically four different types. There's the thrillers that they do that aren't very scary, but they're just, like somebody has kidnapped somebody and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Right? Then there's the girl from out of town that comes back home and or a guy from out of town, that
Hmm.
comes back home to whatever, right? And then there's maybe another romantic kind of thing. But then there's the Christmas movies, and the Christmas movies have a lot of those different, different tropes and whatnot in them. And the ones that I were in, one was a thriller, one was a drama, like set for a court thing with, court drama kind of thing. One was a Christmas movie, and it's like I played bingo with this or something. Didn't mean to do that. One was about a woman who had breast cancer, and it was originally called Breast Cancer Bucket List, and then they changed it to List of a Lifetime, which I thought was hilarious. I think List of a Lifetime should have been on a Hallmark, not Lifetime channel, because but from based
Yeah,
on the title. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, that one, and each one had some person who had a celebrity status, involved and everything. It was kind of cool. I liked
yeah.
working on it.
So they get they get these movies now, Lifetime and Hallmark. It's sort of the same things that we get all those made for streamer movies. It's just the stuff on Lifetime and Hallmark is usually geared a certain direction. You know what to expect for the most
Yeah,
part.
when you see Julie
And
Warner on it, either she's gonna be the girl with a heart of gold, or the girl who doesn't have a heart of gold at all, and gets a heart of gold by the end of it. And and that's fine. That's a paycheck. I'm not
yeah,
knocking it. I'm
yeah,
just
it's work.
saying
It's
that
it's
like
it's work.
it was a thing for a while that people would look down on anyone who did it. And now it's almost like a badge of honor if you have been in one. It's the same
Hmm.
thing as like a lot of people look down on going to horror conventions or conventions, Now everybody goes to conventions, like fucking big time actors like Chris Hemsworth will go to a convention, or something, because they, because they make money. That's how you make some extra money. And all you have to do is literally sit there or take a picture or sign something. That's
Yeah,
it, you
yeah,
know?
and I love the conventions, and I think it's just time periods just change and expectations change, and I mean I think that's something that I'm evolving a little bit with too, because for a while I was like, if it didn't play in the theaters, I was like, I'm not going to give it as serious a look if it didn't play in the theaters, and that's sort of the mentality of maybe 20 years ago or so, because now it's like stuff comes out streaming all the time, and I mean, there's a lot of junk, but then there's a lot of good stuff too. So it's just a different world that we're in now. So the Hallmark and Lifetime stuff, that's just another version of streaming,
Hmm.
basically. And hey, all
And
the
they
power
have their
to
own
them.
streaming channel. Lifetime does, you know.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
you could stream all their movies. To go back to Tommy Boy, I was actually thinking about it. Chris Farley was in Billy Madison as the bus driver, right? Has a small part. Later,
Mhm.
he's in, I think it was a Wayne's World 2, because I know in Wayne's World 1 he wasn't in that because that was maybe the first time.
Wasn't he a roadie or something like that in Wayne's World
Yeah,
2?
he had a little small part at like
Yeah.
one of the concerts or something, or whatever. He later on was also in Airheads that Adam Sandler was in. And I absolutely I adore that movie. It's one of my favorite comedies too, like up the 90s
Airheads.
The
comedies.
the
Yeah.
Farley verse.
The Farleyverse, there you go.
Well, what
Um,
was funny with Airheads is was a year or two ago when Brendan Fraser won for The Whale, when he talked there and he's like, two of the three stars have won Oscars now or something like that. He was talking about how they've
s-
done so well together.
was Steve Buscemi the one, or was it Adam Sandler
I
who
think
won it?
Buscemi's won something. I don't think Adam Sandler won. If he
Uh,
would have, it would have been for Uncut Gems, maybe, or Punch Drunk Love.
I would imagine it's
Um,
for Punch Drunk Love, but I don't think he won.
yeah, and
Uh,
yeah, he got nominations for some awards. I don't know if Oscars or Golden Globes or
yeah,
which
he's
one,
been
but
nominated, but he's never won. And I don't think
okay.
he hasn't even been nominated for an Academy Award.
What are you
Let's
talking about? You're talking about Sandler?
Sandler, no.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I'm
I
looking
don't know
him
what
up
else.
and
Yeah, I don't know what else came out that year, but I mean, his performance in Uncut Gems is really good. So I mean, that should have gotten some recognition, but um,
yeah, I think the Oscars snub him, man. Like,
yeah, and well, that's the thing. It's the people that are known as for the comedies. It's kind of hard for them to. Some of them get taken seriously when they're so entrenched into the slapsticky or the they consider it degrading humor or just
uh,
not as and Sandler does do a lot of that though. I
yeah.
mean, truth be told, but he also has proven that he can do a great job acting. And I it would have been nice going back with Tommy Boy if Farley would have really been given the chance to see if he could have done something very serious and stuff like that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't remember any serious
No,
dramas that he did. It,
he was known for comedy and he stuck with that. I mean, he was the new Jim Belushi, or not Jim Belushi, John Belushi, not
yeah,
Jim Belushi.
yeah.
Nobody wants to be known as the new Jim Belushi. I'm sorry, Jim, but he's not a bad actor. He's just not.
Jim's done some good stuff. He
He's
did
not
but taking care of business, and I mean,
canine.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah.
I
um,
mean, I love the dude. I love the dude, but
yeah,
he
yeah.
had some bad movies in the 90s, especially.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, John Belushi or John Candy, I would think.
For John Candy.
Yeah,
Did John
and Al,
Candy and Chris Farley ever work together? Like, that's a good question. I don't think they did.
if they
Uh,
might have overlapped, and if they would have ever overlapped, mm, I'm trying to think if well, Candy passed away and was it like 94?
yeah, well, he did Wagons East and Canadian Bacon. That came out in 95. So yeah,
Yeah,
he passed in 94.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
Wagons East is the one he died making, I believe. I think that was the one he was in Mexico filming and died like on location. Candy did.
whoa, he was in JFK. I don't really remember. God, I gotta rewatch that movie.
Which one was
Um,
in JFK?
John Candy.
Don't remember
Um,
off the top, but
no, let's see. Nope, I don't think so. I don't think they ever
the,
worked together. That's crazy. But it's funny that
and,
Alfred brought up the planes, trains, and automobiles because I guess this is sort of like that. Like I guess, David Spade would be the Steve Martin character,
mhm.
Chris Farley's the John Candy, guy or whatever. And that would have been interesting if they did do like a planes, trains, and automobiles, you know remake. They did do a remake with like Zach Galifianakis and what's his name? I want to say Jason Bateman movie or something.
Uh,
Um, and it was, oh no, Robert Downey Jr. Was it? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, it was a due date.
Due Date. Was it Due Date? Yeah. It
Zach
was. It was.
Galifianakis.
Yeah, but it was exactly like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Right? It was like
Maybe was that cat? Was that the one we were trying to get? He had to get to Vegas. His wife was about to give birth or something.
something like that. It was like Peter Hyman is in Atlanta heading home to LA, where his wife is about to give birth. But after
Yeah.
getting kicked off the plane due to his seatmate, the pair end up trying to hitch a ride to the West Coast. So like it's basically Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but it's not called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which kind of is a bummer when you just totally just rip off another movie and then you don't bother at least making it a remake, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but maybe they tried to make it as a remake for another company and they were like, nope. And so they're like, fine, we'll just make the same exact movie for another company and change a few things so that we don't get copyright issues. Um,
Right.
Yeah, and it says I was reading that Farley would have been the voice of Shrek.
yeah, I heard that too. I heard
Yeah,
he
that.
would,
Yeah, and that he was a big Belushi fan, John Belushi fan.
of
So
course.
you could tell that in just his, I mean, his the way that he acted. I mean, watch Animal House or something like that and see Belushi and
He was also supposed to be the in the Ghostbusters when they were originally going to do Ghostbusters 3, and I believe like Chris Farley and I don't think David Spade, but Chris Farley and a couple of the other Saturday Night Live guys were going to take over for Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and all of them, but they ended up not going that route. Probably I have a feeling it had to do with Bill Murray because you couldn't get Bill Murray to agree on anything back then.
yeah,
He was very he didn't want to do the sequel for Ghostbusters. So I think we talked about that.
yeah.
He didn't want to do that. So, but the fact that he
Didn't
did,
they yeah, didn't they wasn't the movie Evolution sort of the same? A lot of originally
That
was
was
an idea for
hilarious.
Ghostbusters.
That movie.
I think Evolution was like either a spin-off idea or it could have possibly been Ghostbusters.
right?
They were thinking of using part of that. But so back with Tommy Boy, what
Hmm.
outside of the scene with the deer when it wakes back up, what would be like the funniest scene that really caught you guys? I mean,
Alfred, do you want to go?
What? Hello?
Yep. Yeah. What would be the funniest scene besides the deer scene? What's the scene that you like the most?
Like when they were getting dinner.
Are you talking about when he spazzes out on the waitress?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. That's like the part where Rob Lowe gets the whole thing dropping his.
Rob Lowe pisses on the thing and just
Yeah, yeah,
or oh, I was also thinking was it the he yeah, Rob Lowe got a lot of, well, he was evil, he was a bad guy, so you wanted him
yeah.
to get all that stuff, but he also ended up running and then getting the car, hit him and then the brakes hit or whatever and he flew off and got the nuts like hit or whatever. Oh man, it was so
yeah,
funny.
he took a lot of punishment in that role, but it, I mean, he got to see what was it, Kiss Bo Derek. So I mean, you know,
By the way, did you notice the reference that they made to
oh,
her?
I love that when she said she's a 10.
I never noticed that when I was
Yeah.
a kid because I never saw 10, so I
Oh
never
yeah,
thought that
when
was.
Farley said that to Dennehy.
I wonder if that was an ad lib or if that was like because I bet they knew she was going to be in it, or whatever.
Then he was a bartender in 10.
Is he?
Yeah.
That is funny that they
Yeah,
both
he
worked on
plays the
that.
bartender.
That must be also the other reference too, is like knowing, both those guys are in it. That's funny. I did not know that. But yeah, that what she said, like, yeah, like he goes, Dad, she's a 10. And I was like, I forgot about that. Like I remember that line, but I like, I forgot that and I was like, oh my God, that's definitely, planned for that, for that
That's a
joke.
movie I think I'll consider for one of our reviews. 10. I really like that one.
I don't think I've ever seen it,
And
honestly.
Dudley Moore is funny as hell in it.
I know I don't think I've ever seen it. I wanted to. I just I mean, it's just one of those movies that just, never came across my, zeitgeist.
Well,
Um,
it predates you.
I know.
It's barely, but yeah.
Yeah, barely. So I would say the funniest scene that's not the deer scene. Oh, probably my favorite scene is
Ugh.
them being was it David Spade's drinking in the car and then they are about to get pulled over, so
Oh,
he decides to do the bee thing and say there's a bunch of bees on them or whatever, and the cops are like, I'm allergic to bees. Like, me too. We gotta go.
Let's go.
You'll come back to check up on you. And I was like, I wonder how many people have done that since after that movie. Like, how many cops are like dealing with people who have bees now, or
Mhm.
whatever.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
thought that was brilliant and funny. And what about you, Joe?
Well, we've hit on a number of them. Another one that it's great because it's funny, but then it's also shows it caught me off guard, and it makes a moment, a touching moment between them is when they're on the boat and those kids are heckling them, and
Hmm.
then Tommy tries to take care of it, but it just doesn't work. And eventually, Michelle Julie Warner, she just goes off on them, and it's
Oh,
like, and then he's just like, oh my gosh, it's like a bonding moment for them too, and it was just like so it played as a really good comedic moment, but then it also played well as a for their relationship that potentially could have been blooming.
Yeah, so I agree. And I think the best thing about that was that it didn't work because Tommy was viewed as the fat guy. So no matter what, those kids weren't going to be scared of him, right? A
Hmm.
fat man, right? Then
Hmm.
when a woman who's a little bit thinner, she's thinner than him substantially, and she's sort of a mother type figure, like boys, little boys are scared of moms. I was one of them. I did not like any moms yelled at me. I listened, and I was terrified of them. Still to this day, sometimes, when moms yell at me, they might be my age, and I'll still freak out. Um, but uh, when she did that, they listened to them, and I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was very well done, especially considering she kept standing up, and like the last time, she was like, "Nope, sit down. I'll take care of this," basically, and she took care of it, and she said, I know where I know where you live, and I've seen where you sleep. You better pray to heavens that you don't see me, blah, 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 all right." And they were like, they all of a sudden they got freaked out and ran, and I thought that was just absolutely brilliant. And
Yeah, yeah. So, and I'm not. I think that's good writing there, but I'm also curious. Just throughout the film, it's like how much was there stuff that ad libbed? I mean, off of the script that they just went off the script. I don't know. I mean, it's just because it's usually when you get those comedians that are like that, it's like that they're just going to run off in different tangents or something. And those takes probably could have really been funny. I don't know what the if they, a lot of comedies usually have those moments of just let's try all these different things and then let's keep it to the script too. So I don't know
right,
what they how
but
different it was, but
Apatow was a lot like that. And I say it was because I don't think he's made a movie in a while, you know. And I'm it's sad about that because I like him.
yeah.
Um,
Well, is it because for Apatow, is it because of just the changing culture of stuff? So he had to be different now
That's what he says.
with some
That's
of his.
what he claims. There was an article where he was giving an interview and he said that he just can't get a movie sold these days because uh the movies that he writes and everything are for a different generation, The that a lot of stuff just can't, and he has to try to, and when he tries to adapt to it, like I think they did a movie called like The Bubble, and it just was poorly received because it just wasn't, you know, up to the Apatow standards. Can't do the Apatow standards anymore. So it kind of sucks. Like comedy is hard nowadays because there's so many people who are still offended by everything that 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 you got to be very careful what you say or how you write it
Mhm.
and all this stuff. And like with a movie like Tommy Boy, you know, there's a couple words in Tommy Boy that could not be said today, you know. Especially I think it was like more than once they said the R word, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, eek. And I understand at that time that's how people talked and everything, but
Mhm.
I was like, ooh, you know. And yeah, it's like yeah, there was that line in it where he's on the airplane. You know, that scene's pretty funny. Like, you know, where they go on the airplane and they start taking control of stuff as flight attendants, and it was so weird. You know, like I don't know how they got on. Did they like knock the people out with the, you know, and steal their clothes, or did they? Oh, no, no. He asked for money. So apparently they paid the
I th
guys to take their
either,
clothes.
either that or they just bought clothes that was similar from the um one of the stores inside the airport or something. But
I
I
don't
don't know
think
if they sell
so.
like
I
stewardess clothes. That's kind of
yeah.
odd,
Yeah.
but
I don't think they would want to do
now
that.
they wouldn't even be able to make it past security
Well, I mean,
because of
it
all
would
the
have,
checks because of plane stuff.
yeah, they'd have to check. Yeah, this was pre 9/11. I never thought about that too, because
Mhm.
all the 90s ones was pre 9/11. But like, it's weird to think about that, you know, that like everything was so much different. So you couldn't write a scene like this today. You'd have to like it'd have to be a very elaborate thing where somehow they got past the security and they had to do all, you know, all these things or whatever in order to get through there. It's insane. Um,
Yeah, but now I don't even know if it would even be accepted as somebody who's not supposed. It pre, it probably wouldn't even be received as funny as if somebody got on a plane that they shouldn't be on, um, or get on the wrong flight, like at Home Alone or something like that. I think the whole airport stuff. This goes back to the Apatow stuff. It's like some stuff you just can't touch anymore or can't go there. And
yeah, it's
I mean,
not
for
not
better or worse. I mean, it's like I understand the better part is that different people like the R word, stuff like that, used in here. Um, that shouldn't happen. And people are aware of it now, and it shouldn't happen. But then it wasn't, I don't think it was meant as a very menacing thing, but it was just,
it wasn't
that was the world.
no, there was no maliciousness when they said it, but it wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, but it still wasn't, it's still not a cool line, and it should be erased from our vocabulary. I believe, like, I truly believe that. I think it should, but the, you know, and I'm not one of those people that like, I bet, you know, Paul even says Paul doesn't want that stuff, you know, he agrees with that stuff, like that shouldn't be said. But watching this movie there shouldn't be like a disclaimer that pops up and says, you know, you might be triggered by that word or something, you know what I mean? There shouldn't be that, like, you know.
Yeah, I don't think there's other movies that warrant something. If
There was
this
something
this is
worse. Like if they say N word, yes, I believe that should have a disclaimer or something, letting people know, because that's
yeah
not appropriate. But
yeah
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So I always talk about what was popular at the time. I always try to bring that in just so we could spin it. And you were making the comment earlier, Jonathan, about the other. There was no other comedies really in that vein that was big at the box office at that moment, in that time. But this came out on March 31st of '95. So it opened up at number one at the
mhm,
box office. So it opened up
nice.
and made just over 8 million. I think it made like 30, just over 30 overall.
Yeah, which on a
So
twenty million dollar budget, it's still not
yeah,
bad, but like that's not like today that would not be, you know, that would not fly. Like you know, you need at least double your budget, you know, on
yep,
the first day these days. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just
Now,
insane now what people are expecting from
yep.
movies.
Yeah, so other movies that came out that week, none of the others were even one of them hit number 10, Tank Girl opened that
Ooh,
weekend. Um
that's a bad
uh, uh
one.
Born to Be Wild was outside the top 10. That's a kid with a gorilla movie.
Which one?
Uh Born to Be Wild.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple smaller films, Jefferson in Paris, and Ballot Measure Number Nine, which I've never even heard of, to be honest. Those were outside the top 10, but other ones in the top 10, it took number one the 3 weeks before Outbreak. Outbreak was there, so that's a good film. Number three was a comedy, which Major Pain.
That's
Some
okay.
people love that.
95
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Asia
yeah,
Pain. That's
yeah.
probably a
Then
Hollywood knockbuster, I think, unless it made money. I don't know.
at the moment it was in its second week and it made 14 million total between the first
Okay.
2 weeks.
And
I
it
don't know how much it
probably,
made
never
overall.
mind. It might not be one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Number four was Dolores Claiborne. That was Jennifer Jason Leigh and a thriller. And then number five, Forrest Gump, in its 39th week of release. I was just like, whoa. And Pulp Fiction was in the top 10 also. That was number nine. That was in its
See,
25th.
remember when they used to have movies in 39 weeks? They
Yep.
continue to have, they don't do that now.
Yeah, that now it's very rare. Other stuff in there: Muriel's Wedding, Circle of Friends, Man of the House, Chevy Chase. That was
Oh
in its fifth
God,
week.
was that the one with
Yeah.
him and Jonathan Taylor Thomas or
Yep. Yep.
oh God,
Yeah.
a terrible
And then
movie.
yeah. So that was it. Uh not a lot of other stuff really. But yeah, the one that opened, it was the only one that really opened that did anything in
Why
the
did
theaters.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas out of all those kids get like the most famous? Like, was he just because he was the cutest kid? Is that it? Because like Ty Bryan was older than than Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and he didn't get the like, Jonathan Taylor Thomas was on like Lunchboxes and was in like I'll Be Home for Christmas with Jessica Biel and stuff like that. I don't know. It's
He
weird.
must have just, I mean, in Hollywood, they must have the thing where you check the boxes, and maybe he checked the boxes for what they thought would be the next thing at the time. I mean, but yeah, his movies didn't really hit that big, so
I mean, I think I'll Be
it
Home
did all
for
right.
Christmas did all right. I don't think it was a outstanding, smashing success. I remember I don't think I saw it in the theater. I don't think I wanted to go see it in the theater. It was Man of the House. I think I watched it in the at a home on VHS and was like, like even as a kid, I was like, could care
Yeah.
less about this. I mean, I was watching movies like Billy Madison and Tommy Boy,
Hmm.
So these little family movies or whatever didn't really do the stuff I was kind of growing out of that at that time. I still like to look back and watch these things. I
Yeah.
tried watching Blank Check. That was like 93 movie
Oh yeah, I
from
remember that. I saw it
Disney,
in the theaters. Yeah.
and it was slow, man. Like I was like, get to the check, man. Like
I'm
quit.
trying to remember what that kid that wasn't the kid from Family Ties, was it?
I
Or
don't
what?
think
I
so.
can't remember. I can't
Um,
remember who that. I know with Blank Check I saw in the theaters. Man of the House, I think I saw a screening copy at the video store. So remember I was working theater by night and video store by day. So
That's
I
so
think
funny. You're going from one movie extreme to the other.
yeah, I was like
Mhm.
I'd get the screeners and then at night I'd be going to the theater. So I mean I do that for
Brian Bosnell. So yeah, he was the Family Ties guy.
okay, yeah,
Kid from that.
yeah,
He
I
was
remember he
Andrew
did.
Keaton. You
Yep,
know,
yep, because he was supposed to he did that horror film, was it Mikey? It came out like that was supposed to be his transition into. They were trying to give him a some. That's when they did the bad kids, like the Good Son. Remember that with Macaulay
hmm
Culkin and
and
I
Elijah
think
Wood.
Mikey. Yeah, Mikey came out about the same time, but that was more of a straight to video type thing or very small theatrical release.
Brian Bonsall. That's his name. Uh, he was in a James Balsamo movie. So
Oh, really?
I know a guy who's directed him. He was in Your Melting, and he played Dr. Love. So I gotta talk to James and find out how he got Brian in that. That's funny. But
So
that's like
we went from Tommy Boy to so I guess doing that 6 degrees of separation, we went from Tommy Boy to James Basama through
yeah,
Blank Check, and well, Blank Check we just sort of tied because of the kids movies and stuff like that
yeah, nothing to
with
do
Man
with
of the
Tommy
House.
Boy.
Yeah, so
Um
I'm sure there's probably a way to do it, and it can probably
Maybe James
happen, but
Balsamo can be, I'm sure he's tied to Kevin Bacon somewhere.
oh yeah,
We all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can actually, there is a site online where you can find out through IMDb searches or whatever if you are a like how many degrees of Kevin Bacon are you? And like I think I'm like 1 or 2 away from Kevin Bacon, you
I
know.
think I would be. I think I'd be one or two as well because you could take the handful of people in the Jackal, and I mean the Jackal got Jack Black, Bruce Willis, Richard Gere, Sidney Poitier, Diane Venora all in it. So I'm sure one of them's crossed paths with Bacon pretty quickly.
Yeah, maybe. It's called the Oracle of Bacon, if I'm correct. And
Yep.
you just look up, I'm gonna look you up right now. I'm gonna find out. So Joseph, was it Joseph Turk?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm on the IMDb as listed for being in the Jackal as an extra, but uh
Let's find
one
out.
of
Oh, they can't find
they
you? I don't
can't
know.
find me.
Maybe
I
it's
haven't
under
Yeah,
show.
I haven't made the list or whatever, but yeah, it was any one of those from the Jackal. I mean, it was probably pretty quick to they one of them's I'm sure done a movie with Kevin Bacon.
Hmm. Let's see if they can find me at all. I doubt it. Because I bet it looks like it's all the famous people. Um, no, it doesn't. I'm not even on there. Oh, there I am. I'm a 3. It said it has Bacon number 3. I was in Bite School, which was James Balsamo, with Giovanna Rossi, who was in Attack of the Killer Chickens movie with Lloyd Kaufman, who was in Toxic Avenger with Kevin Bacon. Which Toxic Avenger was Kevin Bacon in? What? Oh, is he in the in the new Toxic Avenger movie? Oh shoot. I didn't know that. That's neat. So I've got a Kevin Bacon number 3, you know.
Yeah, I just have to go through because I know that one of those people in the Jackal either did something with Bacon or you can get it real quickly to him from there. So um, uh, and part of me is probably like, oh my gosh, it's right there. It's so and so, you know. But uh, anyways, but and Kevin Bacon was in JFK, so that opens it up to. I always remember playing that game with people and stuff like that, and it was like we're playing the Kevin Bacon game, no JFK, no. We like eliminated like 2 or 3 of his movies that like overlapped everything.
Yeah. I
But
mean, anyway, Alfred, you still doing good down there? Is he even here? I feel like he is.
Alfred left the building, or
I
did he?
don't know.
Mhm.
He's here. He's around.
So here it is. Well,
Did you just nod off for a second? Oh, crap. We lost him. We
And
literally lost.
Kevin Bacon was a taxi racer in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Weird.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
we lost Alfred. Like he's
well,
literally like not on here right now.
he said something, then he was gone. So
Yeah, he might have
I
hit the wrong button or something.
yeah, well, I think we need to have him to know what he's going to be because if it's his call for the next one, I believe. So,
Yeah, hopefully he'll call right
what
back in. I'll message him and say, call back in. Hopefully he will. Hold on, call back in. Or I'll ask him what the next one is if he's not able to call back in. Um, but yeah, I guess that's about it. I mean, this movie is one of my favorite films, like of the 90s, and comedies, like
hmm
I actually did on TikTok, on my personal TikTok, I did a top 10 comedies from the 90s, right? I just listed my top 10 comedies, right? And so I got 10 Things I Hate About You is number 10. Ah. Then number 9 is Wayne's World. Number number 8 is Airheads. Number 7 is Groundhog Day. Number 6 is Clueless. Number 5 is Tommy Boy. Number 4 is Mrs. Doubtfire. Number 3 is Liar Liar. And number 2 is Billy Madison. Number 1 is Mallrats. there you go. Those are my top 10 90s comedies, you know.
It'd take I'd have to really think for mine. The couple that came up quickly in my mind that you didn't have on your list would, I like Clerks so much, so Clerks would have, I'd have that
I don't,
in
well,
there.
I consider these Hollywood ones. That's not a Hollywood movie.
Oh,
It's a
gotcha.
indie.
Okay. Well, I would probably have like I probably would consider American Pie in there. I think that was 99, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that
So
was
that might have been right
99.
on the border.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so I
I
would have
thought
that in
about
there.
it. I thought about it, but
But yeah, it'd take a while because you have to really like flesh a lot of them out. But the ones you have in there is really good. That's a good list. So
yeah, it's funny because like yeah, but that just shows kind of my sense and sensibility of like who I am, as opposed to what what you might like or what Alfred might like or what my dog Rocky would like, completely different, stuff or whatever. I only said that because Rocky came in and looked at me again. He has been
yeah,
coming in and coming out of my room right now, so
yeah. See, I would have other stuff in there like I just looked it up real quick. Big Lebowski be in there.
I don't know, man. I can't get into that as much. Me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, and now comedy. Has comedy and drama. But I mean, would Forrest Gump be considered a comedy, or would that be more of a drama, or a little of
No, it'd be
both?
a comedy. I mean, it
Yeah,
could be, but like, I don't know. When I think of 90s comedies, yeah, I definitely don't think of Forrest Gump.
yeah.
You know,
Like something about Mary. That was another good
that
one.
was another one
Uh,
I wanted to, that would probably that and the other one you mentioned earlier, would probably be on my,
oh, American Pie.
yeah, American Pie would probably be on my top 20. But my top 10, it's hard because, I
Yeah.
realized that when I was looking through everything, I was like, oh my God, there's so many movies.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I didn't even put Ed Wood on there, but I don't really consider that a comedy
Yeah.
comedy. I think of it as a biopic, you know.
Yeah, I
Um,
gotcha. I would think like Office Space would be another one. Um, uh, Doc Hollywood, I love that. Encino Man. I mean, get to those. Uh, I mean, there's just so many. It's like I know. Oh, there's one that you probably have in there. So I Married an Axe Murderer. I think that would probably be
which
that
one?
was probably right on. So I Married an Axe Murderer.
God, yep, that would be on my top 20. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like
Dead
that'd
Man
be
on
right on the.
Campus would be on my top 20. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
uh,
here's one for a lot of people think there's something about Mary's, but there was one right before that. Flirting with Disaster. Love that movie. I don't know if you've seen that or heard of that. It's a Ben Stiller and Patricia Arquette comedy. That I love that. Swingers, Austin
Swingers is
Powers,
a top 20. Like,
Austin Powers, Grosse Point Blank. I mean, gosh, there's a lot of good. There's a
I
lot of
keep
really good
forgetting
ones.
Swingers is a 90s thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it like I put yeah, I actually put that down too. It's like movies I
Yeah.
could watch over and over again.
Yeah,
But
wedding singer.
wedding, I prefer Billy Madison over any of the other Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It's just a movie I can just put on and just feel comfortable with
yeah,
and never, because if I'm going to do that, I would do Happy Gilmore or, oh my God, dude, why are
yeah.
you
See,
trying to,
For me, wedding singer was my favorite of his.
yeah.
But yeah, and that's got the '80s nostalgia going for it too. So, there was something I read too that which movie was it that they reference it was in 51st Dates. They referenced Tommy Boy sort of by something with they made a reference to the Callahan thing was like a there was an in joke with Callahan reference in 51st Dates. So it
Mhm.
made it like it was almost in the same
Universe.
yeah, same universe. I mean it was quick homage. I think it's the same same director, so that would make sense too, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Um, but
Like,
but but yeah, so has Alfred come back with anything
yeah,
on what
he's saying, let me in real quick. I'm like, you're not on. You're not here. You're not here to let you in.
next? Because we want to hear
Um,
what his talk will be
yeah,
for his next.
that's what I asked him about. And I think he's gonna call in a second. Oh my,
He I think he mentioned a little bit between a couple of them in his
but
last
yeah,
in our last call, and I
I
know he takes one that's a little he usually goes a little bit down a different path than each of us. We go our
Yeah.
own little directions
Well,
and stuff like that,
me,
which is cool. So
I had like, because we weren't doing a specific thing together, like
mhm.
this isn't all doing us all doing the same ones, same type. I still wanted to do a same type myself, so I'm sticking with 90s Saturday Night Live movies as my theme. You guys can have a theme or you cannot have a theme. It doesn't even matter. I don't know if you'll have a theme or not, but
Yeah, I roamed around the 80s in my last one, and I think it'll still be in the 80s, my next one.
good. I
Mhm.
like the 80s, but yeah, and then after that we're doing another completely different one. We're gonna
Yep.
be
Oh,
doing a
cool.
theme. I don't want to say it yet because I think we never talked about it yet. So I don't want to.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that we're on the same page with it, and
Ah,
then we'll share it accordingly.
I
So
don't know
no
what
out.
is going on with Alfred. I don't know. Uh, how because he wanted me to let him in, but like I don't know if he tried calling me on the Facebook thing, but you're not gonna be able to hear him, like because you can't hear him through this thing,
Yeah.
I don't
Well, if
know
he
what.
can message you, then I guess you'll just have to. If he just tells you what it is, and you could, we could just sort of,
You could just tell us what you want to do.
yeah,
Tell
and
us
then
here tell us here. Tell us on here what you want to do next. What you want to do next. Next month we'll announce it. Oh, here he is. Okay. Oh,
Uh,
I was writing this long ass thing. What's up, Alfred?
are we still in the show or
Yep, we're still on the show.
okay?
yeah.
So, tell
Oh,
us
dead asleep.
what you want to do next month.
I'm thinking Blue Thunder.
Blue Thunder. All right. So I
Y'all
don't think
seen
I've ever
that?
seen that movie. No.
And
I
I
know.
want to talk about the TV series. I was able to find the TV series on disc, so I want to do the movie and the TV series.
Let's just stick with
Well,
the movie, but
yeah,
we
that's
can
what I
talk
mean.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't want to watch like so much, especially of a TV show that I don't know how
Yeah,
long it ran for.
it was like 8 episodes.
Oh,
It was
okay.
either Air, it came out at the same time as Airwolf. So
Well, I might watch the TV show. I can't find it anywhere.
and
Uh,
Dana Carvey's in it.
oh, nice. I might
Dana
watch the
Carvey
TV
plays
show later.
Jeffo.
If I can find it, I'll watch that too. And then, I mean, we could talk about it a little bit, but like
Yeah,
really our main focus will be the
yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's what I meant.
yeah.
Well, Blue Thunder will be a nice companion piece with one we did a couple weeks or a couple episodes ago with War
Yeah,
Games.
War
yeah, that's
games.
So
right.
the paranoia type of stuff. And,
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's been forever since I've seen Blue Thunder, but yeah, I
I love it.
remember.
It
Yeah,
is
so
available. I think it's on Tubi, is what it says.
Yeah,
So yeah, you can watch it on Tubi. So awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
okay. Roy Scheider, Daniel Stern, Warren Oates, great cast.
cool.
Malcolm
Yeah.
McDowell. Catch you
Yeah,
later.
I
I'm
heard
good.
there we
Daniel
go.
Stern wants a Chud remake, or something. He
We'll have to
loves
get it.
Chud.
We'll have to get into that on that episode then,
Yeah.
Yeah,
huh?
Cho. That's funny. Is I had never seen the movie, but we were playing charades at scout camp, and someone bit their arm, and I said, "Chud," and he goes, "How'd you get it?"
So
Zombie
that
movies out. That's
so you can
funny.
still get it even if you've never seen the movie.
Yeah, I think they
Uh,
had Bud the Chud and all that stuff afterwards. But speaking of zombie sequels, I really like Return of the Living Dead with Lou Gallagher.
yeah. Return of the Living Dead
Those,
was fantastic.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
those.
Well, I guess that about wraps it up for tonight's
All
episode.
right.
Thank you, Alfred, and thank you, Joe. This has been
Wait. We didn't say any of the lines real quick. Son of a,
yeah, he never
and
actually says
holy,
the B
yeah,
word,
yeah, and
and then
holy
he
shnikey.
holy shnikes, and then
We
he
had to
actually
get that
says
in.
that's gonna leave a mark,
Yeah.
Housekeeping. That's
Um,
probably one of my other favorite scenes. Housekeeping.
housekeeping or fat guy in a little coat, fat guy in a
Yeah.
little coat, and then he goes, "Oh, Richard, don't you?" And it's like, oh crap,
Yeah. So anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt the closing there. It's like we had to mention those couple lines.
We had to mention those lines. We have to mention I've talked to Joe about it before the show, but there was a soundtrack, and I had the soundtrack to Tommy Boy, and it would have all those lines in it. So that was pretty cool.
No.
So Mallrats had the same thing, and Joe, you said something else. There's another
Wedding Singer did it with the
Wedding Singer
soundtrack.
did it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I liked when they used to do that, where they used to put, because there's a soundtrack to the movie, so they put the quotes from the movie into the soundtrack. That was always fun. All right,
Pulp
everybody.
Fiction did that too.
What was that?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, Pulp Fiction did it too. Yeah, I remember. I love you, honey bunny. You know, just take home. And Reservoir Dogs. I think Quentin Tarantino did that in the beginning.
KBILLY. Super Sound of the 70s continues with the Bohemian.
I love those movies. I love all of Tarantino's. So I don't think I've ever not, maybe Death Proof is not my favorite, but I don't hate it. I think he could have done better, you know, and I think even he doesn't like it as much, you know, as far as his stuff goes. So I don't think.
Well, it's a simpler idea.
I think if I told Tarantino that, he would be like, okay, I get it. You know, but you better like From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm like, dude, who couldn't love From Dusk Till Dawn? You know,
4 Rooms, man, that was funny.
4 Rooms. Oh, he was doing so much cool stuff with like Robert Rodriguez, man. I'm sad that they kind of stopped doing that. Like, I'd love to see them back again for another thing. You know, doing something.
I can
else.
see Werewolf Women of the SS. I think that'd be fun.
You know, yeah, the
Nicolas
Rob
Cage,
Zombie. That was Rob Zombie, though. Like, I don't know if I'd want to see Rob Zombie direct anything else. Like, I'm done with Rob Zombie. I'm okay if he never directs another movie. I think I'll be fine. Sorry, Rob, but your movies just don't do anything for me anymore. Like,
it's not your cup of tea.
Not really, you know. And
mine either. But I just think that one was
it's not, you know, it's not my cup from Bonnie. You know, from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You know, gourmet coffee. You know,
grinding myself, Jules. I know what good coffee tastes like. So that shit coffee. That shit is shit.
Exactly. All right, guys.
All right.
Well, let's wrap this up and say goodnight.
Hope we don't get demonetized, Tim, Joe, John.
Yes, I can't wait for Blue Thunder.
Hey,
yes.
All right.
Whoops.
All right, everybody. So hopefully you guys had a good time, and join us next month where it'll be Alfred's pick and we're doing Blue Thunder. Until then, everybody, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Hollywood Boulevard podcast.